Namaste, everyone. We are moving into our next topic of discussion in lesson mechanical properties of solids. And as you see, the topic of discussion today will be one of the most important parameters for the property of solids, that's modulus of elasticity. So today we are going to discuss about the different types of modulus of elasticity, and we are going to derive an expression for the elastic uh, potential energy density. So the first thing that we will do today is modulus of elasticity. Now, do you remember, children, what are the different types of strains that we discussed in our previous class? There were three different types of strains that we discussed, that is linear strain, volume strain, and otherwise the bulk strain or the shear strain. So depending on the stress and the corresponding strain that is going to be applied, we are going to define modulus of elasticity. But the condition in which we are going to define the modulus of elasticity is within the elastic limit of the given solid. That means if you are going to go beyond the elastic limit, we cannot define this modulus of elasticity. So within the elastic limit of the given solid, is that clear? So the modulus of elasticity, or this is otherwise called, as I have mentioned this in my previous class, coefficient of elasticity, is defined as the ratio of the stress applied to the corresponding strain in the solid. Is that clear? So corresponding strain, that means depending on the stress that you apply, you are going to have a corresponding strain, and we call that as the modulus of elasticity. So how are we going to write it? The modulus of elasticity is, it is basically a coefficient. In general, we are going to denote it using the alphabet E, and this is going to be denoted by stress upon strain. Is that clear? So this is what we are going to call as modulus of elasticity. And we know that strain is dimensionless because it is change in dimension upon original dimension. So the stress ka unit is going to be force per unit area, that is F by A, Newton per meter square. This is going to be the SI unit of modulus of elasticity. And if Mrs. Chandrasekhar has done dimensional analysis for you, that means dimensions of this is going to be given by ml power minus 1 t power minus 2. This is going to be the dimensions for modulus of elasticity. Now, what are the three different types of strain we said? Linear, volume, and shear. So based on these three strain, the moduli of elasticity is going to be of three types. There are three types of moduli. Moduli is plural, modulus is singular. There are three types of moduli of elasticity depending on the strain that the body is subjected to. So the first one is called as Young's modulus. We are going to see one by one, children. The other one is called as bulk modulus. And the last one is called as rigidity modulus. Okay, so we have three types of moduli, that is Young's modulus, bulk modulus, and rigidity modulus. So we will move into our first modulus, that's going to be Young's modulus. Okay, so this is the first modulus of elasticity that we are going to do. That's Young's modulus, and it is going to be denoted by the alphabet capital Y. It's going to be denoted by the alphabet capital Y. So how are we going to denote it? We are going to denote it by capital Y. And how is it going to be defined as? It is going to be defined as the normal stress, otherwise linear stress. What is the meaning of normal stress or linear stress, children? Do you remember from your previous classes? It is the stress that is applied normal to the given surface of the solid. So this is normal stress, otherwise called as longitudinal stress, linear stress, सारे नाम इसी के हैं. So normal stress upon, when I am going to apply a normal stress, I can expect to have a linear strain. That is the strain that is going to increase the length of the body. For example, you have a roll made out of a cylindrical roll made out of atta, and the dough, play dough. If you are going to stretch it, right, the force is applied perpendicular to the area of cross section, and when you stretch it, the length increases. You call that as linear strain. So Y is going to be given as normal stress upon linear strain. So normal stress is nothing but F by A. Any stress is F upon A, divided by the linear strain is given by del L upon L. So why the Young's modulus of a given material of the solid is given by F by A upon del L by L. That's going to be Newton per meter square. How are we going to define Young's modulus? Within, please remember, within elastic limit of the given wire या solid, जिसको भी आप स्ट्रेस अप्लाई कर रहे हो, जिसके ऊपर आप स्ट्रेस अप्लाई कर रहे हो, within elastic limit of the given solid, the ratio of the normal stress, this normal stress can also be called as linear stress or longitudinal stress. Are you understanding? So the ratio of the normal stress to the linear strain is called Young's modulus of the given material of the solid. And it is going to be measured in Newton per meter square, because strain is a dimensionless quantity. So that's what is Young's modulus. What is the next modulus, children, that we wrote on the board? It is bulk modulus. So before I move into bulk modulus, let me go to the page again here. Where do we see this happening when I'm going to apply a normal stress? Where do I see linear strain? When I'm going to stretch a wire. So let us assume that I have a rigid support and I have a wire hanging. I'm going to give it in a slightly extended view. Let us assume this is the area of cross section and this is the original length of the wire L. So what happens when I'm going to apply a force in the perpendicular to the area of cross section? Let us assume that when I had applied a force perpendicular to the area of cross section, the length increased by del L. So now you can see Young's modulus is F by A upon, and let us assume that this is the area upon which the force is applied. So that means my Young's modulus becomes F by A divided by del L by L. But please remember, children, even, the moment you imagine, you are going to understand it. If you pull a dough, a cylindrical dough, does it only increase in length? Is it only the length that is going to change? Is that the only dimension that will undergo a change, children? What else will undergo change? Yes, you are right. Even the thickness of the wire will undergo a change. So we not only have a linear strain on the wire, we will also have a lateral strain on the wire. That means the thickness of the wire will also undergo a change. So suppose if I consider this as the rigid support over which there is a wire that is hanging, I have given a slightly expanded view of the wire. Let us assume we have magnified it. This is how you are applying, this is how you are going to apply your force. So let us assume that L became del L. And let us assume that this whole thickness is D. What happens now? The thickness is also going to reduce. So let us assume the reduced thickness to be del D. So what am I going to write the lateral strain as? The lateral strain is going to be written as del D upon D, while the linear strain is going to be written as del L upon L. Correct, children? Del L upon L. Now, can I say that as the length increases, the thickness decreases? Isn't it? They are inversely proportional. That means they are going to, the increase in one will decrease the other. And the ratio of the lateral strain to the linear strain, we are going to define by another quantity for a given solid. That's called as Poisson's ratio. We are going to denote it by the Greek alphabet sigma. Now, how am I going to denote sigma? Represent mathematically. Sigma is equal to, that is Poisson's ratio is equal to the ratio of the lateral strain to the linear strain. So I'm going to define, let me define it first. Poisson's ratio for a given solid is defined as the ratio of the lateral strain to the linear strain produced in the solid, right? Suppose I'm going to apply a normal stress and it is going to produce both lateral strain and linear strain. Then the ratio of the lateral strain to the linear strain is what we are going to call as Poisson's ratio. And how am I going to denote it? I'm going to denote it by sigma. So what will happen to sigma? Sigma is going to be del D upon D divided by del L upon L. But I'm going to give a negative sign along with it, because as the denominator increases, the denominator decreases. The negative sign shows that they are inverse. Ratio of the normal stress to the linear strain, and Poisson's ratio, which is going to be the ratio of the lateral stress to, lateral strain to the linear strain. Now I will take you through bulk modulus. What is meant by bulk modulus? Bulk modulus, how did we define Young's modulus, children? Within the elastic limit of the given solid. So that is how we are going to define bulk modulus also. Within the elastic limit. How am I going to define it? Within the elastic limit of the given solid. What could be bulk? Bulk means volume, right? And in order to change the volume, what kind of a force do you apply? What kind of a stress do you apply? Obviously normal stress once again. So within the elastic limit of the given solid, the ratio of the normal stress applied to the volume strain produced in the solid is called bulk modulus of the material of the solid. It's called as the bulk modulus of the material of the solid. And the alphabet that we are going to use here is the Greek alphabet kappa. Kappa is something similar to K. Is that clear? So even if you are going to write K, it doesn't matter. So let us assume that I have a solid, right, which is placed, I'm just picking up one face of the solid, and let us assume that I'm going to apply normal stress from all directions. That's when volume will reduce. I'm going to apply a normal stress from all directions of the body. So what happens because of this? I am going to see a reduction in the volume. So if the initial volume is V, and let us assume that there is a change dV. So what am I going to write kappa as? Kappa is going to be written as what, children? Normal stress by volume strain. Normal stress is again going to be F by A. And what's going to be volume strain? Del V upon V. Is that clear, children? But when I'm going to apply a normal force that's going to create a change, I'm going to call this normal force. What is normal force, children? Do you remember normal force is otherwise called as thrust? It's from your lower classes. So what is thrust per unit area? It is nothing but the pressure that you apply on the surface of the body. So it becomes PV upon del V. And I'm going to put a negative sign over here. Now, can you pause the video and tell yourself what will be the reason for the negative sign, children? Have you paused it? You have come back. I'm going to give you the reason. The negative sign shows that as you increase the pressure, the change in volume is going to decrease. isn't it? Increase in pressure, decrease in volume. That is what the negative sign shows. So kappa, the bulk modulus in the given solid, is going to be given by minus PV by del V, again to be measured in Newton per meter square. That's bulk modulus. Now what am I going to do next? I'm going to move into rigidity modulus. Rigidity modulus. If what is the last strain that is left out, children? That is shear. So what am I going to do? I'm going to consider a surface. Let us assume that this is a solid. I am going to make another solid here, almost of the same shape, and I am going to join up the vertices. So let me consider a solid, and this is the solid that I have considered. Now what am I going to apply? I am going to apply a shear stress. How is the shear stress different from the normal stress? It's going to be applied along the surface of the body. Normal stress was perpendicular to the surface of the body. Now I'm going to apply a stress parallel to the surface of the body. So let me assume that the parallel stress is going to be applied like this, and the body is going to undergo a, right? Do you see that it has sheared? That means I have applied a force parallel on this area. This is the area under consideration, isn't it, children? And let us assume that, and we know that the shear strain is given by theta. So let us assume this is the angle through which the surface has moved because of F on this particular area. So let us assume this is the length over which you are applying, and there is a small shift. This shift we are going to call as del L. Is that clear, children? So how am I going to talk about my rigidity modulus? Rigidity modulus, again, I'm going to talk about within the elastic limit. So what am I going to talk about? Within the elastic limit of the given solid. What am I going to say? The ratio of the shear stress to the shear strain. Yeah, I can also call this shear stress as what, children? Do you remember? Tangential stress. Is that clear? So the ratio of the tangential stress to the shear strain is called what? Rigidity modulus of the material of the solid, and we are going to denote it by the Greek alphabet eta. Eta is nothing but n extended on one side. So eta, I'm going to write eta. Is that clear, children? So what is going to be eta? Eta is going to be the stress applied. Stress is always force per unit area. So this is going to be F by A upon what is the shear strain, children? It is simply theta. When your maths teachers are going to teach trigonometric functions this year in mathematics, they are going to tell you that when theta is very small, when theta is negligible, is small, that means I can say tan theta is approximately equal to theta. Tan theta is approximately equal to theta. So what am I going to write in the place of theta over here? I'm going to write it as F by A divided by tan theta. Is that clear, children? Now from the triangle that is formed over here, if I'm going to find tan theta, it's going to be del L upon L. So obviously my rigidity modulus is going to become, what is it going to become? It is going to become F by A divided by del L upon L. So this is what is going to be your rigidity modulus, also going to be measured in Newton per meter square. So Young's modulus, Poisson's ratio, sigma, bulk modulus kappa, and rigidity modulus eta. Now I'm going to give you in the next page relationship between the moduli of elasticity, okay, along with Poisson's ratio also. though we do not call it as modulus because it is not stress upon strain, that is also one of the ratio for a given material. So relationship between moduli of elasticity, please understand it is not a derivation. I am simply going to give you the relationship in mathematical equation form, and that is going to be used by you only for solving numerical purposes, and we are not going to use it. I mean, from the point of view of your exam, you're not going to get it for derivations, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm simply going to give you the relationship between what are the four alphabets that we are going to write over here. Y, that is Young's modulus; sigma, Poisson's ratio; kappa, that's going to be bulk modulus; and eta, that is going to be rigidity modulus. Every textbook, sometimes they use K, G, E, mu. So it depends upon the author. As long as you define what it is, I do not have any difficulty in you giving me any alphabets. Is that clear? So Y is going to be given by 3 kappa into 1 minus 2 sigma. So this is your first relationship that I'm going to give you. Y is equal to 3 kappa into 1 minus 2 sigma. I again repeat, children, this is only meant for numerical purposes and no derivations are necessary. So kindly take the relationships, that is enough. This is one relationship that relates Young's modulus with bulk modulus and Poisson's ratio. The next one is Young's modulus again. Y is going to be equal to, I'm going to equate it with rigidity modulus, 2 eta into 1 plus sigma. Right? So this is Young's modulus with rigidity modulus. That is going to be the relationship along with Poisson's ratio. And then I'm going to give you another one. 9 by Y. This is only the 3 moduli of elasticity. 9 by Y is equal to 3 by eta into 1 plus 1 by kappa. This is going to be the third relationship between the moduli of elasticity. So you have 3 relationships that are going to denote the relationship between them. Mathematical relationship is more than enough, no need for any derivations. So 3 moduli with 1 Poisson's ratio and the relationship that is going to link them mathematically in equation form. Is that clear, children? Is that clear? Now, this is about the moduli of elasticity. Now I will move on to the next one that is called as elastic energy density. Now we are going to denote it by the alphabet U. And what is this elastic energy density? Elastic energy density is defined as the elastic energy per unit volume of the given solid. So for the elastic energy per unit volume. Now what is this elastic energy? Now samajh lo ki you are pulling a rubber band. Now when you are pulling it, don't you apply a force? Without you applying a force, does the rubber band stretch? No. Now what are you acting against in pulling the rubber band? You are acting against the restoring force that is acting inside the rubber band. That's what pulls the rubber band back to its original position. Yes or no? The moment the applied force is released, what happens? The restoring force is going to pull back the rubber band inside. So what are we trying to say? We are applying that force against the restoring force, right? So, and you are stretching. That means there is some movement. So you work against the restoring force. The work that you do in order to stretch the body is going to be stored in the body in the form of elastic potential energy. So that's what we are going to do. Let us assume that initially when you do not apply any force, the initial restoring force FRI likhti hu, that is equal to 0. Let the final restoring force will be equal to your applied force, because it is like frictional force, self-adjusting force. The more you apply, the more the restoring force develops. So finally, just before you leave, that will be equal to the maximum applied force. So what will be the average force acting on the body? Average force will be equal to initial force plus final force divided by 2. This is something like your average velocity, initial velocity plus final u plus v by 2. So fi plus ff by, but fi and ff add karoge kya milega? This will come out to be f by 2. And what is this average force doing? It is doing work. So what is the work done here? The work done is equal to the average force into the distance moved. What is the distance moved? It is nothing but the length increased because of your force applied. Let us consider we are doing this with a wire. So I'm going to write it as del L. F by 2 into del L. Now what am I going to do? I'm simply going to multiply and divide by AL. So I'm going to shift the A here and I'm going to shift the L under here because it is all multiplication. Multiplication is associative in nature. So I have half F by A into del L by L. Something is becoming familiar to you, into AL. Correct, children? Now, what is this work done stored as? The work done is stored as elastic potential energy. So I'm going to write it as U. Right, children? Now, what is F by A, children? You know it. That is stress. Correct? And what is my, I'm sorry about my handwriting. What is del L upon L? It is your linear strain. I'm simply going to write it as strain. And what is A into L, children? What is the area of cross section into the length of the wire? It is nothing but the volume of the wire. So this becomes equal to volume. So U is equal to half into stress into strain into volume. So what happens to U upon volume? U upon volume becomes equal to half stress into strain. Right, children? And what is this called as? U by volume. The potential energy per unit volume is nothing but your elastic energy density. We are going to denote it by a small u, which is going to be equal to half stress into strain. So this is the relationship between stress, strain, and potential energy density. When Mrs. Chandrasekhar finishes off a little bit of calculus with you, I will derive the same expression using integral calculus. But for now, we are going to restrain ourselves to only this derivation, which is U is equal to half stress into strain. Suppose if I want to bring in the Young's modulus of the wire into picture now, what do I know? Young's modulus is equal to linear stress upon linear strain. And here both are linear. So what can I write stress as? Can I write stress as Y into strain, children? So what happens here now? It becomes half Y into what square here? Strain square. This is another example, another relationship for your elastic energy density. So this is the relationship for elastic energy density, where what is elastic energy density, children? It is nothing but the potential energy per unit volume of the solid. So we have come to the end of our lesson, and I hope you would have achieved these outcomes had you listened intently. We defined modulus of elasticity and the different types of the moduli of elasticity. We wrote the relationship between them, and we derived an expression for the energy density of the solid also. In the next session that I will be meeting you on Thursday, I will be finishing off this chapter. So please keep revising and make sure you are up to date with the lectures, so that whatever is the following lecture, that wouldn't be in Greek and Latin for you. So keep studying and stay safe.